I'm Jim Collison and live from Omaha, Nebraska in the Gallup offices in India. This is Gallup's Call to Coach, recorded on July 19th, 2016. Call to Coach is a resource for those who want to help others discover and use their strengths. We have Gallup experts and independent strengths coaches share tactics, insights, and strategies to help coaches maximize the talent of individuals, teams, and organizations around the world. If you do have questions during our live webcast, we do have a live chat room that's available for you right below the main video window there. We're logged in now, and I see a few of you in there if you'd like to do that. If you do have questions during or after the webcast, if you're listening to the recorded version, send us an email. We'd love to respond back to that, coaching@gallup.com, or use the contact form right there on the live page. Don't forget to visit the Gallup Strengths Center. That's just gallupstrengthscenter.com for all your coaching resources and Strengths Finder training needs. You can also catch the video now streaming or downloadable audio for offline listening on your mobile device if you'd like to do that. We have the apps available for you, and they're available on our resource page. Just head over to coaching.gallup.com and check out the subscribe tab, and those will add them right to your phone. Pooja Luthra is our host today. She works as an advanced consultant with Gallup in our Delhi office. Pooja, always great to see you. We only get to do these once a month, but it's great to see you. Welcome back to another Call to Coach.
Thanks, Jim. Great to see you too. It seems like forever since we last did it for some reason. But anyway, good to be back, and really, really excited to have with us today Prabha Karhana, who is the HR business partner for Harley-Davidson in India. Prabha, it's so nice to see you again. Of course, we got the chance of knowing each other when she was doing her Gallup strength certification a while ago. And since then, off and on, she's been such an advocate for the work that Gallup does and the idea of strengths-based development. And we've had her come back over and address some of our coaches and do all of that. And that's been really, really great. I think apart from being a certified strengths coach, Prabha has a very well-rounded experience in human resource practices across various sectors. And as far as I'm aware, her experience within HR covers a plethora of things, including organizational effectiveness, talent acquisition, change management, compensation, and the works. And I think the good part about her role also has been that she's had an opportunity to work under very complex matrix structures, handling multinational cultural sensitivities and all of that. Always a very, very intriguing part of seeing how some of the things that we do in terms of strengths-based development pans out in environments such as matrixed organizations and organizations that are culturally very, very diverse. So very, very excited to have you here, Prabha, and a very, very warm welcome to this Indian edition of Call to Coach.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Pooja, for having me here, and thanks for the opportunity. And good morning to everyone in India who have joined on the chat and who are here live with us.
Yeah, great. So we'll start off with, I'll shoot the questions. I know we had some discussion even before we went on air, and very, very intrigued because Harley-Davidson, for one, is one organization that sort of does the entire, we call it the Gallup path and all of that. So very excited to hear some of those things from you. So let's start with your personal journey first. Tell us a little bit about your top 5 and your journey as a strengths coach.
Sure, Pooja. I'll start with how I started my Gallup journey. It was around 4.5 years back when, as a part of a leadership program, I had to take the survey, and I had no idea what Gallup Strength is and Gallup 34 is. And I took the survey, and I had my top 5, and it was for a leadership program, and I had some almost 100 other HR colleagues with me in a conference room, and we had a briefing on what it is and how it works, and we were sort of comparing notes and our strengths with each other colleagues. And suddenly I look at my strength and I'm like, okay, am I in the right profession? So, that were the first thoughts that came in my mind when you look at the Gallup strengths. So my top 5 is strategic, maximizer, relator, achiever, and responsibility. And so the first time when I got this report, I had it at club in the 4 blogs that we have, and I was like, okay, every other person in this room is so strong in relationship, maybe they are in this profession, so they are required to be very strong in this theme, so that those were the first thoughts that went into my mind. But in fact, I could never do any further work on Gallup strengths after that. But after I joined Harley, I really, the doors really got opened up for me for Gallup strengths, and that was the first time when I received professional help around the coaching piece, around my strengths piece, and how I can relate to them. And when I further understood it and practice them, and when I'm reading about them on a day-to-day basis, I am just amazed at the fact that how true they are, how exactly they reflect our personalities. When I look at uh, my top five, I am mostly in the zone of responsibility and maximizer, and I think that's what happened with the people who have maximizer in their top five. It's the responsibility and maximizer that plays with them all the time. So it's like I have to be committed to my work, and not just professional. It's about every other part of the life. It has to be commitment, that dependability, that one drives each and every day. And it's about maximizing, driving that efficiency, driving that excellence, driving the smarter ways to do your job on a day-to-day basis, not just professionally but personally also. So that's how maximizer and responsibility I can see in my day-to-day life, in my personality. And then I have strategic. How strategic works for me is to have alternate ways of the tasks that I'm doing on a daily basis, and always coming up with plan B and plan C if it doesn't work out. So that's how it helps me. It also helps me putting the patterns together. That's how I have seen it over a period of time, that this is the biggest when I am in the balcony side of the strategic, it really helps me see through the maze. It helps me see through putting the patterns together. And then achiever is there. It's about being productive each and every day. And sometime I really go in the basement of it when I will have a to-do list for my vacation also. So so that sometimes drives me crazy also. Sometime I really need to get out of that to-do list, but that's really important for me to drive that productivity each and every day. It really makes me really happy when I have finished my to-do list on a daily basis. That's really what drives me. And one of the interesting theme for me is relator in my top five. And when I first saw it, I was like, what does it mean? How what exactly is this? But over a period of year, this is the most important theme which has been driving my relationship building and management, and my whole scenario around relationships. So relators are the people who drive those deep and mutually rewarding relationships, and that's what is really important for me. I'm really not a person who will drive superficial relationships, and for me it's about taking time and making relationships which are solid and genuine and go the long way. So sometime I have realized that how important for you is to work in the balcony side of this theme also, because if you go towards the edge side of this theme, which sometime I have done that, I have consciously, unconsciously, I have realized that sometimes I have been into the basement side of this because I take a lot of time in terms of building relationship. And all of us are in a professional environment, specifically HR professionals. In fact, in every other profession, we are working in an environment wherein we need to build our relationships soon and strong, and that's how it will help us work. So it's very important for me to be very cautious of the basement of my theme. So Pooja, in fact, that is what my journey has been all about. It has been all about the self-awareness part of it, becoming aware of my strengths and lesser strengths. So that's how I have spent last 2-3 years in concentrating on my strength and about using them on a day-to-day basis. And in fact, what I initially said, that I was really amazed when I looked at the strengths of other HR professionals in my team, and I was like, all of them have maybe in top 5 or 10 somewhere, empathy and harmony and that. And I was like, where is my empathy and harmony? Isn't that what is required for an HR professional? And I looked at my sequence, and it's like my harmony is number 34, and I'm like, what? So that's how I have realized the fact that I have strengths and I have certain lesser strengths, right? But I have been working consciously, unconsciously, towards maximizing, towards working effectively in my strengths area so that it can cover up the lesser strengths for me. And now that I'm more aware of it, so I consciously drive my top 5 and top 10 to cover up my lesser parts also. So that's how the entire journey for me has been. It's about the awareness, it's about the insights that I have received around these strengths, and not only about my own strength, even the people that I've come across in my organization also, my colleagues, my friends also. So their top 5 and their top 34 has really helped me understand each and every theme and how they play out with each other. So it's not necessary that whenever I am I am helping out a friend or a colleague with Gallup Strength Find, it's not necessary that I will always have a solution for them, or we will immediately have a solution after each and every session. But it's really about the awareness part of it. It's that you are aware how your themes are playing with you. You are aware of the balcony and the basement, the power and the edge side of it, and how you are driving yourself to get the best out of you. So that's what my journey has been.
Absolutely.
And
yeah, no, absolutely. And I can't overemphasize the importance of the self-awareness piece of it. So, whether you're in an organization or, you're a coach who's just doing strengths-based development, the entire journey begins with that self-awareness. And, for those who were listening, it's very encouraging for a teacher to be able to hear you talk about balconies and basements and use some of those terminologies that are very, very Gallup. And, we know what you mean exactly, and you've completely internalized it. It's very heartening for me to listen to you say that. So excellent, and I can see you're on the path of increasingly trying to be more intentional about your talents, etc. Tell me a bit about how has this panned out in your, of course, the role as an HR professional, as well as have you been doing active coaching as well on the idea of strengths for people within the organization and outside it?
Yes, definitely. As an individual, also since the time I've received my certification, and even before that, when I had my top 5 and I received certain help around it, I was very much interested in working around how it works for me and how I can help people around me to know this and have more awareness and insights around it. So I have been working around it not only in my organization but outside as well with my ex-colleagues and friends and in my circle, and I know and it's really amazing to know that how people are initially skeptical that they are not sure how it will pan out, and once they see their top 5, because initially we start with top 5, and once they see it, it's really amazing how they turn around with this concept, and they are really amazed, and they are I've seen people who are absolutely amazed by it, and they are like, tell us more how this works for us, how that works for us. So it's always interesting to work with people around. And specifically coming to Harley, we strongly believe in Gallup, and as an organization we are driving a lot of initiatives around Gallup. We do Q12 every year, that is our engagement survey, and then we have top 5 strength finder for all the employees who join us. So it's basically every employee in Harley will have their top 5. So it's now as an organization we are driving towards the fact that how everyone can utilize their strengths to be best at work. That's how in Harley we have panned it out.
Okay. So coming on to the idea of, how you've developed and furthered the journey of strengths-based development within the organization, tell me a bit more of things that you have been able to do with the fact that when people come in, they take their strengths finder. So what does a typical journey for an individual look like when it comes to actually being aware of their talents and then actually getting opportunities to be able to use them?
Right. So Pooja, so the important part is that at Harley, we have three, major concepts behind our talent management philosophy. It's about
Okay.
knowing, it's about leading, and it's about growing. And
Okay.
we are helping these concepts with Strength Finder. So every new joinee, or maybe people who are already with us are interested in Strength Finder, we make them go through the Strength Finder. And then we have certain official sessions that we take with the new joinees, and that's how we help them, make them aware of their strengths and the insights around it. And how it works for us is that we strongly believe that a more aware and more insightful employee can really help in the engagement. A better
Mm.
engaged employee, a better engaged customer, and that's how we want it at Harley. So at
Mm.
Harley, the focus around strength is to have employees become a better versions of themselves.
Mm. Mm.
That's how we drive it. It's about employees becoming what they are at best, and they are helping becoming HD at its best. That's how we
Mm.
you know we are driving it. And at the end of the day, it is linked with our Q12, our engagement survey, and that's how it is reflecting in our development plans also. So that's
Okay.
how we have linked. And I think it is in one of the Gallup books only that I have read somewhere, that Gallup has made up this link that employees who have opportunity to focus on their strengths every day are 6 times more likely to be engaged than in any
Mm.
other scenario. So
Mm.
that's what really driving us to be more focused on strengths, so that employees are more aware and insightful about themselves, and they are encouraging and helping people around them to be more aware about themselves. So at the end of the day, it's about knowing ourselves, knowing the people who are we are working with them, and it's about knowing what gets excited each and every individual in our ecosystem. It's about leading the way each day and every day, and it's about stepping up, and it's about sharing more and encouraging others to share more. And the third important part of our talent management is growing, and it's about learning from each other. It's about learning from new assignments and improving process, and it's about continuous improvement of our people through Gallup strengths, through our Q12, and through our development plans. So that's how Strength Finder really incorporates in our philosophy. It's about developing our people.
Yeah, I think we've spoken about this before as well, and I think what you're saying is absolutely true. That the entire thing is based on a philosophy, and the philosophy is what you said. You want people to be best versions of themselves, and that sort of pans out in all the systems and processes. And this is also what as Gallup we keep telling people that this is not a standalone journey. It's not a one-time thing that you take your strengths finder and then you forget all about it. It's something which has to be more integrated than that in terms of development and performance management and then engagement and things like that. So interested in knowing about, and I'm sure because you do it for everybody. Any interesting or insightful, I would say, case studies or any examples that comes to mind when it comes to seeing people on this path of strengths-based development?
Yes, definitely, Pooja. And I will just like to take a step back on the previous point, is that for organizations, it's really great, and it will be really helpful for them if they have an ecosystem around Gallup. And
Mm.
I think that's
Yeah.
what has helped Harley a lot, because we have an ecosystem around it. So
Mm.
that's what really can help an organization to have an ecosystem around it.
Absolutely.
Now coming back to interesting case studies. Yes, I had couple of them, and it's really very interesting, and to see how these themes play out in everyone's life, and how they are impacting their day to day life also. So it's about a friend of mine, and when she got to know that I have received this certification, so she was very interested in taking this up. So she took the survey, and she shared her top 5 with me. So her top 5 is like harmony, consistency, adaptability, empathy, and arranger. So you can see how strong she has the relationship drive. She has harmony, adaptability, and empathy. And just a little about her role. So she's in a role wherein she's an operations role, and she requires to do a lot of communication and interaction with third party vendors, and drive a lot of stuff through that. And these people are not reporting directly to her. They are some other organization's employee, but she has to drive, a day-to-day task and business out of them. So when we had our first discussion and second discussions, and in third discussion, I can see, certain emotions building up, in her discussion, because she had this very strong harmony and empathy with her. And see, I am not very strong. My harmony and empathy are lesser strengths. So it was becoming very difficult for me to understand, these two themes also. But in our third discussion, I asked her that how she feels in meetings, how she feels about, raising difficult questions in meeting, or conflicts in meeting, or is she able to drive some difficult discussions with her, third parties and vendors. So in that discussion, she sort of choked up, and she had tears in her eyes, and that's when she disclosed that I have these thoughts every time I raise up my voice or I say something difficult, if I'm hurting the other person, if I'm hurting the person even over the phone or even sitting across the room, and this just drains me out, you know. And on the other side of the table, here I really don't have, I have my lesser strengths as harmony and empathy. And I was also really surprised at how strong, these emotions are playing up with her, and how drained she is after every such discussion. So she's like, "Ki most of the time I am not able to speak up, and I'm not able to raise my voice because I'm just too afraid that I may hurt the other person, and eventually it will hurt me also, because I really can't see people around me being sad and being really drained out with their emotions also." And honestly telling you, I really did not had a solution for her, that what she can do. But eventually in our further discussions, it's about discussing further, helping her out with the situations. So we discussed a lot of situations, that what made her successful in one situation, and how she overcome the challenges in the other situation. So that's how we arrived in our 4 to 5 discussions, that what is that she can do to help her smoothen out this part in her work environment. So this was around 1 year back, and now when I look at her, I can see that she is at a much comfortable place. And what she has done is, she has gone back to her workplace, and she has she has really made her colleagues aware about her feelings, and that has really helped her colleagues also understand that how she feels. And now it has eased her a little environment around her to to raise up her voice and drive difficult questions, because now she has support from other colleagues also. So that's one interesting piece that I have, and it's about.
And I'll just add there, Prabha, I think, one thing that as coaches, we sometimes feel very responsible for solutioning, that what is the solution, what impact am I creating in this conversation and helping this person out. But the one thing I reiterate very often is that even if you're able to create that level of self-awareness, that look, these are my themes which may be playing up in their balconies or basements in different situations, that's so much value to a person who probably can't see it since it's so close to them. And that's insightful in its own way. So, that is a solution in itself, and that is an impact made right there.
Definitely, Pooja. That's a part of my self-awareness also, because when you are sitting on the other side of the table, you feel so guilty that that you are not able to help this person. So you get caught up in those emotions also. Am I helping this person or not? Am I helping this person or not? So I think as coaches, we should come out of that feeling and try to help the other person become aware of themselves, because at the end of the day, solution will come from their side only, right? Because we have our own strengths and we have our own filters. So we may not be equipped, or we may not be aware of what the other person's real insights about the strength is. So for us, it is very important to have that conversation going on, and have that journey going on with our coaches as well, so that they arrive at some or the other solution, or maybe just awareness, because it will really help them just being aware of their strengths and the environment they are in.
Yeah. So in your coaching conversations, as you interact with more and more people inside and outside, do you see yourself leaning on some of the tools that are available? That Gallup has given a plethora of tools, including the team grid and the talent map and the theme map and the values and things like that. Do you see yourself leaning towards any tools in particular while you're doing these? I mean, of course, the report being one. So.
Yeah, report being one. The theme map is very good. Strength map is also very good, and I really like the value cards.
Hmm.
Value cards are can really break that ice, with the coaches, wherein they can really associate what values with them and how it reflects in their strength. So that is
Hmm.
one thing that really, breaks the ice, and it's also very important when we starting such discussions, to build that credibility also somewhere,
Hmm.
to build
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
trust and credibility always. So I use a lot of content which is available on the YouTube channel and Gallup
Hmm.
site also, so that they are aware of the uniqueness of Gallup strength and how unique they are in themselves also. So that
Hmm.
that really breaks the ice initially, and then it's
Hmm.
more about conversation and arriving at theme map and strength map for them.
Hmm.
And then there is another important tool that you have, which is how a strength is playing for them as their power, and how it is as an edge for them.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Hmm.
that awareness is really very important for them, to be aware of their power side of it and edge side of it. So that
Hmm.
one tool is also very helpful. So I
Hmm.
see. I don't have much examples in team scenarios, but yes, I've
Hmm.
done these individuals. So these tools are
Hmm.
really helpful in that.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess the next thing would probably be to take it towards teams when you can get the team. Remember we worked on team grids, etc. So
Yes,
another very
definitely.
powerful means of getting the teams together, etc. So you mentioned earlier, Prabha, about ecosystem, etc. So being in
Mm-hmm.
an organization that's pretty much in a very mature stage of having all of this integrated, tell me what have been the factors that you think have really greatly contributed to this ecosystem being created, and any hurdles that you came across, because people are always concerned about things like, for example, we have questions around, you have the strengths finder, there is always the risk of labeling, there is always the risk of people saying, okay, like, just like you said, if I'm an HR person, how come I don't have empathy and harmony in my top 5? So there's a labeling thing that sometimes comes in. There are issues when people don't really see how can they be more intentional in using their talents in their current work and role. So some of those challenges that do come across when you're trying to do this as an organization. So a little bit about what do you think really works and what do you think really helps, and any challenges that you guys came through and you sort of overcame them.
Yes, absolutely. I think in a organization kind of environment, though we have quite a strong ecosystem also with us, but the biggest challenge is what you said, is about labeling. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, Even when a person sees their report on, or when you are in a team environment, when you are sharing your report with your manager and with your colleagues, people immediately label you. Oh, how come you don't have analytical in your top 5, yet you are in a finance function, or how you don't have this and still you are in this function.
Mm.
So that is the biggest challenge and hurdle that we face on a day-to-day basis, is about labeling. Is people immediately coming to a conclusion, oh, I don't think he's fit for this job as per these
Mm.
trends, so what the alternate plan we can have, and this and that. So I
Mm.
think that is the biggest hurdle that one faces, and one should actually approach the entire thing looking at these challenges very proactively.
Mm.
When you are
Mm.
starting this with your coach or in a team environment also, what I said earlier is, first you have to really build the credibility of this tool. How unique and how scientific the Gallup strength is. First you have
Mm.
to build that, and then come at your top 5 or top 34. That how you should, that's how one should take it, so that at least you have some credibility, so people will definitely have these thoughts in their mind, whether I'm in
Mm.
right profession with these strengths or not, or how can I and the second challenge that one will always have, that how come I overcome my weaknesses,
Mm.
like my empathy and harmony is number 34. So how how, so what is that I can do to improve my weakness? So that is the second
Mm.
challenge we really come across. So it's very important to make people understand in the very first setup, when you are building the credibility for this tool, is that how it works around, how it focuses on your strength rather than on your weaknesses, right? so
Mm.
so it's very important that somewhere in your coaching session you address that how your lesser strengths are getting covered up by your top 5 or top 10, or how you can have certain tools or action items with you to cover up your lesser strengths. So that's very important. So these are the biggest two challenges that I have faced very often, is about labeling around the profession, and the second is how can I overcome my weakness area.
Yeah.
So these are
We
the
laugh
two.
about it, right? One of our big
Yeah.
the things that coaches we need to do is to defy gravity. So
Yeah.
that's a big challenge, right? Yeah. So
Yes.
may I ask you if you can share, and I'll understand if you have to be a little discreet about it, but we always stress on the importance of we tell everyone that strengths is a language. So how have you been able to create visibility around the idea of strengths? I know you're doing one-on-one coaching, but as an organization, creating visibility around the idea of strengths and people feeling comfortable with what they know and equally comfortable with things that may be lesser strengths. So, creating that visibility and education around it. Any best practices or tips that you can share around doing some of that effectively?
So as I earlier mentioned, that that the three concepts that we have in our talent management philosophy are strongly driven by the Gallup strengths. So as a new joinee, when a new person is coming on board, we have certain we help them take the strength finder, and then we have certain one-to-one coaching sessions for them. And then as an organization, we are driving how engaged employees can result into engaged customers, and can help the organization also grow. So we have our leadership programs, our team programs are to some extent will have this flavor. So that's how we are driving it, and helping managers also become more aware of their peers and colleagues and their teammates' strength, and how they can drive their motivation around. So that's all about knowing oneself and knowing the people around how you are working around. So that's how we have created visibility. And of course, every year we do Gallup engagement survey. So that's an important tool which is driving our Gallup strengths also, because at the end of the day, engagement to some extent is being driven by more aware and insightful employees
of your strengths. Absolutely.
So that's how backward it links with us, and that's how we have created visibility around it.
Okay, great. So you mentioned about all new joinees taking their strengths finder, getting their top 5. So do you end up using the all 34 report often as well?
Not very often. If any of the employees are more interested in having that the awareness around the entire 34 piece, then we help them get it. They have to take it on an individual basis then. I've seen people who are really interested after looking at their top 5, that how the entire all the themes play out for them. So there have been people who are really interested around with them. The 34. Yeah.
Great. Jim, do we have any questions from the chat room? Anything else?
No, I've been feeding those in kind of as we've been going along. So interesting. I would ask you about a specific question on the team grid, because we get asked this question a ton. Have you implemented the team grid in its kind of the form? We put out a version of that's a fairly Excel-based, and it's really just names on one side, themes across the top, and then maybe where it falls in the top 5. Are you guys doing that among teams? Is that individualized by team? Can you talk a little bit more about any best practices you guys see when we think about the team grid?
So Jim, honestly, we have not played it around the team grid. We plan to do that sometime this year or maybe next year. But yes, it's a journey that we are also trying to cover, and we'll see how it plays for us in the future in terms of team grids and driving teams for excellence. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting tool in the sense we get a lot of feedback on that, and we've got folks who want to modify that a lot, and that's okay. They can make it fit however they want to get it done. Some purists just take it for what it is. Then we even see people making copies of those for teams, framing them and then putting them up kind of in an area where everybody can see it, and it's one of those things that people not only just having your top 5, and do you guys display top 5 at every workstation, or where people sit, or where they work?
Yes, we do display top 5s, and we have that in our email signatures. And yes, people are really aware about these facts, and they really, put it. I have my on my desk, and I have so many colleagues, they have on their desk and in email signatures. So, and it's like, and sometime when you are aware of your colleagues, top 5 strength, and you have a discussion spanning out, so it's like, oh yeah, I know that responsibility playing in there. So that's the kind of awareness that yes, we have.
It is interesting when you display those in that way. Just tonight at the summit, we began the 2016 Strength Summit, and everybody's wearing their top 5, has a name tag with it. And so there's such a habit of immediately you look at their name and then you read their top 5, and the strengths conversations start immediately. Now, the folks at the Strength Summit are your most enthusiastic, or their coaches from that standpoint. But do you find since those top 5 are out and visible all the time, does that lead to more strengths conversations? Do you think, since they have those available and can kind of look, I know all the time if I'm talking with someone and they say something and I immediately look at their name tag, right? Well, where'd that come from? Do you find that happens a lot in your environment?
Yes, that happens a lot, and in fact, with me personally, also it happens a lot. If I am aware of the other person's top 5, it really helps me out in a lot of situations. Especially like Pooja said in the beginning, we work in a very matrix environment, and we have cultural sensitivities around. So even if you are not aware of the cultural sensitivities and how the other person other person's ecosystems and things like that, but you have top 5 in front of you, that really helps you in getting that conversation started, and be mindful of the others strengths also. And so that really helps. That has personally really helped me a lot, and I think that has though we did not had a formal team grid programs around, but I have seen that helping in team environment also, even if the team members are aware of their top 5 and others top 5 also. So I'll just like to quote a small case study over here, that again it relates to an ex-employee, ex-colleague actually. So she I know we have been talking over the years, and she recently changed her job, and though she's very good at her work, but she would often come and in our discussions she would mention that though she is doing great, but she is always receiving this feedback that she's driving her team too hard. And it's like every time she's receiving this feedback from her peers and her manager also, that she's driving her team too hard sometimes. So when I introduced her to Gallup Strengths, she took the test, and her top 5 were deliberative, disciplined, responsibility, restorative, and achiever. So this was like a hardcore execution profile that we had. And when I explained her that how she read the report, and then we had the conversation how this is playing out with her, so it became just she became more aware of her of her personality, of the things that she's driving so hard. So she was very strongly operating in the responsibility and the discipline zone. So she has to get the things on time, and she has to get them right, and it's about her being productive and driving her team to be very productive all the time. So that was a real eye opener for her. So now when she's aware of her own strengths, she is really mindful of how she's driving people around her. She may not be aware of the strengths of her team, because she works in a different organization, so all of them would not have taken the strength finder, but she is now more aware of her strengths. She is very mindful on how she is now motivating and driving her team for work. So she is always mindful that she is not pushing them very hard in terms of getting things on time, on having them absolutely right, and all those things. So that's how one become really aware about oneself, and that's how it really helps in team environments also.
Yeah, and don't you think that sometimes just the awareness changes the equation?
Yeah. Yes.
When we're thinking about it, that really it changes things just knowing it. Natul asked in the chat, how is the buy-in from the local leadership? In other words, there in India, is this is this a relevant question, or is it driven from Harley-Davidson here in the United States? How is that working out for you guys?
I think it's the overall organization which is really interested in driving such a great tool, and yes, of course, at the local side, of course it comes from the global, but unless and until the one sees the result out of it, no one really believes in. But this is how we have seen it, that it really helps and plays out in our environment, and that's how it has everyone's support.
Yeah, good. Pooja, those are the questions I have from the chat room.
That's all the questions that I had from my end, and I think Prabha has been extremely resourceful in answering them, and telling us some of the tips, techniques, and like I said, that her organization is one that is really taken to the Gallup path in trying to integrate the idea of strengths-based development with engagement, with leadership development, with managerial development. We'll be seeing quite a few of them very soon in September as well. So all of this is it's heartening to know that if something has worked in an organization, what are some of the factors that have led it to work? And you've been extremely insightful, Prabha, in sharing some examples with us. So thank you so much for that. So that's all that I have from my end, Jim.
Always good to have you guys here. And as we think about India and what's going on from a global standpoint, of course, today is the kickoff, I mentioned this earlier, of the CliftonStrengths Summit. And it's a global summit. And a lot of folks, we saw a few from India, quite a few from Australia coming in, a few from Singapore. It's always kind of nice to have that global representation, and so thanks for being on the webcast today. Good to hear that's working there. I get that question a lot. Can you tell us about companies that are using, using StrengthsFinder? And so we can say, we'll say Harley-Davidson. So very good. We'll remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we have available at the Gallup Strength Center. Just GallupStrengthsCenter.com. You can send us your questions, comments, or if you'd like to be a guest blogger on our coaches blog. Almost 750,000 people have viewed our coaches blog, and if you got an idea in your head, you can write it down. We'd love to hear about it. Send us an email, coaching@gallup.com, and put guest blogger in the subject line, and we can throw that in for consideration. You can also catch the recorded audio and video of this program, as well as all the past ones, and our links to our Facebook group, YouTube page, iTunes and RSS feeds, iPhone and Android apps, as well as everything that's going on with our weekly Strengths Wisdom program. It's all on our coaches blog. And Pooja, surprisingly today, I had someone say, it's too much. They're like, I just can't. Somebody with high input. And they were like, I just can't get through it all. And we have a ton. Yeah, we do create. And I'd rather err on the side of too much than not enough. And so we create a lot of content out there. Hundreds of hours of video are available for you. And if you are one of those coaches and looking for a way to do professional development, you can use these videos as PD. And they're great, both Theme Thursday and Call to Coach, and great opportunities for you to continue to learn. If you're interested in becoming a Gallup Certified Strengths Coach, you can see a list of all our courses that are available. They're found at courses.gallup.com. Send us an email, certification@gallup.com, if you have questions before you do that. Or you can fill out that contact form that's right there on the live page. If you found this helpful and useful, please share it. And we want to thank everyone for joining us. And we'll look forward to the next Call to Coach. And with that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.